the revolutionary ankle lock system, an integrated brace built into the boots, delivering unrivaled support, protecting ligaments from twists, tears, and trauma.
Matt Lenihan for Boxing Social in association with Empire Fight Store and our Kings, being joined by the GOAT, Gareth A. Davies. Gareth, how are we, mate?
I'm very well, thank you, my friend. And like you, I've had a busy few days. Obviously, Vegas was very busy last week, as it was for you. We kept being in the same space together, but barely speaking because we were
I know.
not working. Literally in the same floor space for hours on end. And then obviously bookended by the terrible news of Ricky Hatton at the end of the weekend,
Yeah.
which still, casts a pall over the last few days, and I'm still feeling it. And yesterday, when we all, had a kind of rejoinder, if you like, at Tottenham Hotspur once more for Eubank and Benn, it was, all the media together for the first time, and many people swapping and sharing stories about Ricky and lamenting his loss. So, it's going to be forefront in my mind until hopefully I get to go up to Manchester. I've heard from Carol, his mother now. I've sent her some words that I've, some of my tributes to Ricky, and said, rest in peace. We all loved your beautiful son, Richard. And Carol's got back, which is nice. And I do want to go up there to Manchester if there's something unveiled for him, or 30,000 walk Deansgate, or whatever they're planning. I'd like to be amongst their number.
Yeah, I was going to start there. So obviously, Crawford fight ends, etc. You're like, wow, it's pound for pound, great. You go on about that. Then it was sort of, I was half woken up to it, like by a text or speaking to a fight. And I was just like, I saw the irony is, I was saying, I come back off my family holiday about a week and a half prior to that, and he was on the same flight, and I never bothered him. My son was like, "Oh, is that?" I said, "Look, says these people get asked for stuff. Says just let him be. He's coming back from his holiday." And saw him, and I was just like, he's been to Tenerife or wherever it is. And then saw him training for the fight, and then to get news like that, it's almost like it's devastating. I mean, I got into boxing off the back of the story of Floyd Mayweather versus Ricky Hatton. That was the first fight that ever got me invested. Because if that didn't happen, I probably don't end up doing this. Yeah. So when you see, and then when you eventually get to meet him, which I did, and I was, count my lucky stars, I got to even tell him that, look, your fight was the first one, and you interview him and you realise he is what you want people to be in terms of treat everyone the same from the bottom to the top, man of the people. And he left such a legacy in boxing, obviously as a man, but in terms of the sport as well. Just what an icon.
Well, the legacy alone, fighting three of the top five pound for pound, and the number one and the number two in Floyd and Manny. And, people argue about where Kostya was between 3 and 5 in the world at the time in 2005. The grunting, relentless, aggressive, tenacious style of Ricky Hatton. He could take two to give one at times. Great body punch. I've taken his body punch before, believe it or not, filming on a day for DAZN. He doubled me up with the body bag on. I think I might have acted that it hurt a little bit as well, because I just didn't fancy taking another one.
Yeah.
But I got the pleasure of. I knew Ricky very well. I knew his family very well. They were a feature around him the entire time. I knew Ray. I know Ray and Carol pretty well. I've told a few people this story. I did a piece with Carol for Woman's Hour once on BBC Radio 4 when he was fighting Mayweather. Telegraph did a 4-page broadsheet pullout when he fought Mayweather. We had. It was the first really big commercial fight that people could sell around. And obviously he was undefeated. Floyd was undefeated. It was a massive event. Obviously 30,000 travelled out. Whenever you flew out to a Ricky Hatton fight, everyone on the flight was going to the boxing. Yeah. So it was it was almost like this festival of boxing and drinking. I mean, even when I obviously, like you say, waking up in Vegas, I did sob a lot around it because it's still a shock. But when I told some people in the casino I was staying in, again, same as you, I woke up in the middle of the night for a pee, and I'd sort of so many messages on my phone. I thought I'd better have a look, and it was loads of outlets. Sky News wanted me to go on, GB News, The Telegraph were in touch, Talk Sport were in touch. I did a tribute show an hour or so later with Spencer Oliver and Paul Smith. Went on Sky News, wrote a big piece of The Telegraph, and it was kind of cathartic in a sense to be doing it. You know what it's like when you've done a big fight, you're exhausted anyway, and suddenly you're just assimilating back. I mean, I knew Ricky 28 years, so I was going back a long way. I mean, I went to his first fight in Widnes when he was 18. Frank Warren had said, or someone had said, you've got to watch this kid. The fun days we had with Dennis Hobson when he was promoting him, 6 or 7 fights in America on the road. Dennis and Ricky were a great combination. And it was he really was. People have said it so many times. He was one of us, Ricky, man of the people, people's champion, great to follow. Always a story for you. Always had a story. Had an innate, because he was a great raconteur. He made great copy. And I think Eddie Hearn made the point yesterday that Ricky was very much pre-social media and internet era. So
100%.
So today he would have been, he was
Huge.
Enormous then. Today he would have been even bigger. So and overarchingly, Matthew, just to finish, the darkness that was inside him is weirdly at odds with the person we all knew.
Yeah.
And that's the peculiar thing about it, how life gives to some people and they achieve these extraordinary things and they stay as they are and they keep their humility, yet there's something gnawing away at them that, we don't know the reasons why yet officially, but, he did have mental health issues, about this darkness that enveloped him. So it's just very, very, very tragic and sad.
It is, but he'll be remembered. He certainly
forever,
will.
never be forgotten. There's only one Ricky Hatton, and he will be walking in a Hatton wonderland forever.
That's perfectly put. Just a little bit on yesterday, I thought it was a nice touch. Before we talk about everything that got said, and there was a lot that got said, Conor Benn, I saw the Man City shirt, and straight away I was like, you know what, that is a brilliant touch on what is going to be another historic fight week. And you could tell, I saw Conor, who's obviously still a young fighter himself, talking about the effect that Ricky had, and he's in this position now where I suppose he's got all the limelight, and and it was so nice to see before going into this heated press conference. So I just wanted to mention that as well. So shout out to Conor. But what did you make of this? So I know we're sort of going from one end to the other in terms of topics and things like that, but I need to talk about the Eubank comments on this ambulance thing, because yourself, boxing, it's the most dangerous sport ever. One shot, career done, life potentially. So when he comes out with them comments and direct saying his ambulance got blocked and who else could it have been, I'm immediately sitting at home going, wow, that is some comment to say, because as a promoter, the last thing you want to see is anything bad happen to a fighter on your watch, or anything. So when you hear him say that, what sort of your reaction to the comments is made? Because it's what's your reaction?
Well, let me first, Lifesaver, just respond to, I thought it was very classy of Conor Benn to wear the light blue Manchester City Football Club shirt in tribute to Ricky Hatton. And there was a montage at the press conference before we started, introduced by the MC Jamie Ward on Ricky, and that was very touching because everyone had been standing around for an hour talking about Ricky everyone's sharing things. I had a little cuddle with Adam Smith, who obviously knew him well as well, and Coogan, who he used to be bodyguard for. I mean, I ran into Coogan, Ricky Hatton, and Paul Speak because I went out 6 weeks before he. In those days, we used to really go out early. No, 4 weeks I went out. I spent a week and a half around Manny Pacquiao at the Wildcard Gym and Freddie Roach, and then I went to. We really did used to go out early then in those days.
That is early.
Yeah, it is. It was early, but I think I went only I went, but I was doing my diligence. I was probably going to see a few other boxers, going to see Andre Ward in San Francisco. Whatever I was doing a load of things. Yeah, but Coogan ran into Coogan and Paul Speak and Ricky Hatton at the Encore, or met them there up the strip. To see Ricky, he was quite washed out. He'd trained too hard. He'd gone out too early. He didn't seem that happy. I can't remember why I digressed to that now. Sorry,
We went from Conor Benn. You're talking about the.
Oh yeah, the tribute to.
And then the video. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was very classy of Conor Benn in my view, and also if you think about it, Conor Benn, through his travails and troubles of his failed drugs tests, was also admitting that he was very suicidal at one point, or he was suicidal at one point. Yeah. So he would have identified with Ricky Hatton's feelings in his life, where he'd admitted that he felt suicidal. And I did at least 3 interviews where Ricky talked about that with me and how Kostas Yu was his Everest. I keep returning to Ricky, I know, because he's so end of my mind at the moment. It's very hard to get out of my head. But to talk about the ambulance thing, if you want to, of course, it's very dangerous. The golden hour, Michael Watson again. The reason this has all come about because the court case for the Boxing Board of Control and the ambulance situation and the anaesthetist on hand and the dangers to fighters. It's an inherently dangerous sport. So that golden hour between damage in a ring and getting to an operational unit is vital importance. That's why we don't have any boxing down in Cornwall, or there has to be within an hour of the arena. There has to be a surgical brain unit. You know that, don't you? So
yeah.
That's why there's certain areas of the country where you can't go and do it on the Isle of Wight unless there's I don't know if there is one. There probably is one on the Isle of Wight, but that's one of the reasons why we now have boxing down in places like Cornwall. It's not good. I'll say this: it's not good that he was in a gurney and held up 20 minutes before getting out of there. I know one thing: the traffic getting out of there on the night wasn't just appalling. It was hellacious.
Yeah.
I cycled back to my car 4 miles away, and it took forever. Traffic was at a gridlock. The crowds were completely out of order. There were fights and broken glass, and it was chaotic out there for a start. Mm-hmm. I don't know whether that stopped the process. What I do know is it's very important, and the Boxing Board of Control takes safety very, very importantly. Now, someone needs to explain in more detail about the delayed 20 minutes where they weren't allowed to get out. That needs to be explained. An ambulance has its siren and lights anyway, so they would have been able to get through that traffic in some way, although it was genuinely gridlocked. And you're nodding like you remember.
I know, I bloody do know. It was busy.
Gridlock going through on a bicycle is what I mean. It was really hard work. You remember it. You probably walked for 2 miles when you came out of there.
Yeah, it was bad. I know it was, because it's quite a congested area.
I can ever remember from any venue ever.
Yeah.
I'm honest.
Yeah.
And I've taken to doing that with the Spurs events. I park 4 miles away, I cycle there, I chain my bike and I cycle home or to the car, because I know people that have waited 2 hours to get a taxi out of there. And that's post-press conference and everything, so it's far from ideal. That was particularly chaotic that night. The The accusations that it was Matchroom who held up the ambulance is what concerns me, because Eddie Hearn is a lot of things, but that is not the kind of thing that he is wanton to do or capable of doing. I thought it was very ill-advised for Chris Eubank Jr. to break in on Eddie Hearn talking about Ricky Hatton.
Yeah.
He clearly wasn't listening to what Hearn was saying and had a pre-posturing idea to break in as soon as Eddie started speaking. And in my view, cannot have been listening to what Eddie was saying, because all he was doing was trying to pay tribute to Ricky Hatton. So it was very ill-advised, and I understand why Eddie was indignant at it for a start.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think whatever Eddie said, the first word that came out of his mouth, I think he was going to talk over anyway. So I'm pretty confident that Chris didn't.
Yeah, but it doesn't excuse what he did, and he now knows what he's done.
Absolutely not.
He should have issued an apology by now already to the family of Ricky Hatton or to fans watching, just to say, I wasn't taking in what he was saying at the time. My condolences to Ricky Hatton and his family.
Yeah.
It goes without. Be classy.
100%.
Come on, be classy, mate. You know, you've got your gripes. You want to complain about the which is fair enough, about the
board, the ambulance,
the ambulance, the contract breaches, the fines, the rehydration clause, the sabotaged weigh-in, the biased refereeing and the biased comments in the commentary. Complain about all of that, but don't complain while someone's paying tribute to someone who's very special to all of us.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. I don't think anything else needs to be said on that. I think everyone's in agreement.
But we do need to find out why he was delayed 20 minutes if he was, because the board will take that very seriously, because he attacked the Boxing Board of Control and Robert Smith, called him a scumbag. There's no scumbag about Robert Smith. He takes it very seriously. In fact, Robert's found it so tough at times, he keeps saying it's my last year. I don't know if I can do this anymore. He takes a lot of flack. He works extremely hard. He's a very diligent guy. He's incredibly consistent in what do we call boxing, professional boxing? The fucking Wild West. And it is the Wild West. Different sanctioning bodies, different rules. It's not easy to cut your way through it. I really respect the man. He doesn't. I think he needs another spokesperson at times rather than it be just him. But I have found him, and I knew him when he was the undersecretary as well. I've known Robert for 30 years. I know Robert boxed Lloyd Honeyghan and had a career. I know his father managed people like Joe Bugner. He's been in it all his life. He's been in it 50 years, since he was a little boy. So for Chris Eubank to say that about Robert Smith, that he's a scumbag because he fined him, he didn't do the fine. The fine was set up by the contracts, which are to do with Seller, which Eddie Hearn said yesterday as well, didn't he?
Yeah.
The contracts aren't by Matchroom. It wasn't Matchroom who were responsible for the ambulance. And you've got to feel it for Eddie at this point. So, but what it did, it created, Matthew, it created a great atmosphere and great intrigue and interest at the press conference yesterday. Because when Eddie Hearn and Chris Eubank weren't going at it, it was very ordinary.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, the thing is as well, he mentioned obviously the scumbag coin, but he also alluded, and it didn't even hint, he said it, that he believes that they're obviously like in the back pocket of Matchroom. And he's saying that about Robert Smith. And you look at Robert Smith, and when he's talking about the board, and you're like, there's not just one thing he said here, it's the weight, there's 5 or 6 things, and he's just won the first fight. So yeah, look, I think this will all just continue going on into fight week.
I spoke to Ben Shalom afterwards, who was very irate and incensed for Talk Sport. This was on our Fight Night Daily podcast with myself, Spencer Oliver, with Ben Shalom as our guest, and he was absolutely irate about the rehydration clause in this second event. So don't sign the contract then.
But this is what I'm getting at, and look, I get why, but is it not signed?
It's signed. It's signed, and you know that why are they having this fight? For money, not for deep legacy. Their family legacy, yes, but it's not for world title legacy. They're for having the second fight. I believed it was one and done. If they can perform again and create another great spectacle, fantastic. But why are they doing it? Because they're getting 10 million each. That's why they're having the fight. And why are they getting 10 million each? because Salah and Turki Al Sheikh are putting up the money. And Dr. Rakan was there between them. The head of Salah was there between them yesterday.
I've seen that. Let me just ask just quickly on the fight, because we could talk about this all day. I'm sure we could. Conor Benn, in terms of his demeanour.
Well, we can't talk about it all day because I need to go at some point.
No. But you know what I mean. I've got two more things. Conor Benn's demeanour yesterday was more of not a personal thing. It was more business. I think he understands that the energy it takes from the first fight, that emotional thing of I want to take this guy's head off, maybe isn't the right way to get him through. But then the flip side, Junior's now brought Bomac back in. So there's a few different elements there, and we saw what the effect Bomac had. And I know, look, Liam Smith weren't Liam Smith like that, but at the end of the day, Eubank got the job done under Bomac. There's a few more variables going into this fight now, isn't there, from both sides?
Yeah, look, I rate Eubank as a boxer. He's just below world class, but he's a great showman, very tenacious character. I doubt whether we see him fight much more after this fight. Probably won't need to. He's been in showcase fights as long as I've known him. Mm-hmm. He's been brilliant to be around. His father only adds gunpowder to the whole thing as well. Always entertaining. But Bomac obviously is fresh off. Is fresh off overseeing who I think is a modern great in a masterclass of a performance against Canelo, and I put him number one pound for pound now, Crawford, with Usyk 2 and Inoue 3. We've got 3 modern greats on our hands there who are still active and all unbeaten. We need to celebrate this time, it's going to be really, really interesting. Ben Shalom gets another look in the limelight. I meant to ask him yesterday as well. Is there any chance of, now he's got this relationship with the BBC, of getting Ben Eubank on the BBC retrospectively as well? And I hope he's working to do that, because if it's shown a week later, it'll still get big numbers.
It'll be huge, even if it is a week later. It's massive. Look, let's leave it there. I think we've covered quite a bit on that now, and obviously if you've got to get off, but we'll catch up again in a week or so, and obviously as stories develop, and I'm sure there's more to come of this, because I don't think it's going to be.
No, it's going to be a very. I hope they have 2 or 3 more press conferences. We've got Dave Allen against
Makhmudov.
October the 10th. We've got later in October, 2 weeks later, we've got Fabio Wardley, or the 11th. Sorry, Fabio Wardley and Joseph Parker in October. Then we've got this on November the 15th. Then we've got Moses Tauma in a fight in Manchester in December. So the season is looking pretty good. The autumn into winter season, we've got 3 or 4 really good events, all with big fights, and it's really good that British boxing has them.
And all without Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua.
They'll be back. They'll be back. They're talking about it behind the scenes, believe me.
Yeah. Appreciate you jumping on, Gareth. Thanks for chopping it up for a little bit. And we'll catch up soon.
Cheers. Thank you, Lifesaver.
Thank you, mate.
The revolutionary ankle lock system, an integrated brace built into the boots, delivering unrivaled support, protecting ligaments from twists, tears, and trauma.